Could these figures be connected to the UAP phenomenon? Maybe they're energetic beings phasing in and out of our reality? It's intriguing to think about at least. Let me know your theories below. Thank you for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe for daily content. Also, sharing the video on your social media also goes a long way to help us reach more people. But for now, stay safe, stay well, and stay curious. Until next time. All reactions in these videos are for entertainment purposes only. Any advice given should be treated as entertainment as well. Viewers are responsible for conducting their own research into any subjects discussed in the videos before taking any action based on the information provided.